Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to Full Course Yellow for this week. Again, it's the non-ratings period host. And hello to Chris and Richard who are joining us. And I'm Peter, of course.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are we all?
Pretty good.
So what have we got on the agenda tonight?
Well, it was first practice for the Supercars in Adelaide today. Doc's joined us, so I'll just add him. Good evening, Doc.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Doc.
Supercars had their first practice today, and Thomas Randall topped the sheets, but I think that was partly due to a red flag at the end of the session. And I'll just Box has joined us.
A lot of red flags today, I heard.
I only saw Supercars practice. Hi to Russell Clark and Box. So you heard of a lot of red flags today in Adelaide, Doc?
Yeah, just in S5000 as well, though, too. I think I saw a post from Nathan Hearn, might have been a red flag, because Nathan was on the show earlier this year with us. Who was the other one I saw as well, though, too? So, multiple red flags. So, the highlights package won't reflect that, but as they don't. But it'll be free to wear this weekend, so it'll be good viewing for everyone to a certain extent. Great to see Adelaide back on the big screen.
Yep. And
Who's broadcasting?
Channel 7.
But
it might be on 7 Mate because of the cricket.
It's on high definition.
Yeah.
Which means a lot of people can't see it.
What did you say on high definition? Well, yeah, a set-top box has only been about $20 for about 10 years because I bought one 10 years ago for $20.
Yeah,
so
I need to get one.
I've got one.
People still using a set-top box.
No, I've got one in my rumpus room on my fourth TV. So that's what I'm saying. They were about $20 from Dick Smith when Dick Smith existed 20 years ago.
But according to my TV guide, at least Saturday I think is on 7 Mate. So you should be able to get 7 Mate with a free-to-air television.
Oh, free-to-air, but I don't have high
yeah.
definition. I have standard definition.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I saw during the week that Mattia Bonotto has left Ferrari and Christian Horner has been sounded out to manage Ferrari. So could that mean that eventually Daniel Ricciardo could go to Ferrari?
What, in 12 months?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that Mattia rumour has been going around for weeks.
He's actually left.
Yeah, I know he's actually, but I'm saying the rumour was going around weeks ago. Totally denied. Said there was nothing to it. Rumours, blah 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 blah, and yeah. So
That's
someone's got to
rumours
whisper.
work.
Yeah, I know, but look, it got really shut down a little bit more avidly than usual. I thought that one, so I didn't think that would eventuate. But Mate, is there any indication on where he's going to go or what he's going to do? I mean, you're going to have to get some really big bucks to get Christian out of Red Bull. He's not going to leave in a hurry either.
Good evening to David Howard. There's no indication as to where he's going to go. But if Christian does go to Ferrari, could that mean that he'll take Daniel with him?
Who's he going to replace?
Yeah,
because Sainz is still on the rise. He hasn't fallen off the cliff yet. I don't think he's his full straps unless he actually crashes a car too much next year that he's going to, get in a position where he's caught out like other drivers in the past where, what Schumacher's been recently saying is costing us too many millions of dollars and blah, blah, blah. In the past, Esteban Ocon was also, Sergio was under the pump when he was back at Force India as well, though, too. So there's been a few of them over the years that haven't been sort of like told that you're just going to have to settle into the car and stop racing. But there's been a few of them told to pull their head in, because especially when they're racing against each other, do not stop breaking stuff on it, because it's costing us big bucks. So it comes. I mean, yeah, he's got to go across there. So Saints is on the rise. You're not going to get Leclerc, because he's actually.
No.
I've noticed. I was taking some of his pronunciation. Everyone's been calling him Leclerc for so long, but
Leclerc.
yeah,
It is
Leclerc.
Leclerc.
He puts a C or a K on the end of his when he pronounces his own name, so it's Leclerc. So that's the way that's how Charles pronounces his own name anyway. And yeah, but so Charles not going anywhere. Saints is on the rise. Carlos is going to have to do something significantly wrong next year.
I think Leclerc's doing better than Carlos at Ferrari. So could they do a direct swap and put Carlos Sainz back into the Red Bull family?
Yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah, if it might be. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then Sergio's on the out anyway.
Well, yeah, probably. Especially if there's trouble in paradise. And I'll just add Brett to the stream. Hello.
Can you hear me? We are coming to you live from the Mekong Vietnamese restaurant here in beautiful Swanston Street, Melbourne. I'm here with Jonathan. There is Jonathan.
Hello, Jonathan.
And we have just come from the RMI TV Christmas party where the tradition has continued, and for the 26th year in a row, In Pit Lane has been totally ignored altogether.
Perfect record.
We're just talking about because I saw a thing during the week that Mattia Bonanno's left Ferrari, and Christian Horner was sounded out for managing the Ferrari Formula One team.
Yeah, he's going to jump to that, isn't he?
Well, we wondered if he
did. The bottle off.
We wondered if he did, if Daniel would eventually end up at Ferrari.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, it's the marriage made in heaven, isn't it? So, my thought is always, if he ever gets to Ferrari, we'll actually pronounce his name correctly. Will he suddenly become Daniel Ricciardo, which is how you pronounce his name in Italian?
Does he pronounce it like that though?
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. Listen, I'm currently waiting on I'm waiting to be served actually, because I've been drinking all day, and I've had nothing to eat, so I'm going to have a bowl of pho. We've had lots and lots of cocktails and lots of, because I made the mistake of going to our office, the Lion, before the RMI TV party. And it turns out that the manager's having a birthday today, and he shouted me free drinks. So I have had, so basically since I got up this morning and had my morning glass of champagne, and then I had another glass of champagne to celebrate Marcus Labuschagne's 200 at the Perth Oval. I have had absolutely nothing apart from alcohol all day.
I was going to say, and you've had another glass to celebrate Steve Smith.
Well, no, I didn't actually, because I was on the train coming in with Steve Smith. But the point is, it's going to take, because of replacement buses, it's going to take me more than 2 hours to get home. And because I haven't had any food, I think it's probably a wise idea that I have at least something to eat before I jump on a series of buses for 2 hours. So I might leave you guys to it. And thanks to everybody who's watching. I can't see who's making comments because I don't have my glasses on and I've got my phone. But anyway, from the Mekong Vietnam restaurant here in Swanston Street, Melbourne. Bye-bye, everybody.
Our very first live outside broadcast.
Yeah.
Yes. See you later, everyone. Have fun. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See you next week. Bye.
Cheers.
And Tomas, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pronounce that last name. Damas has said, welcome back to the streets of Adelaide for the first time since 2020. Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's Dimmers.
Yeah.
Dimmers Jamal. Oh, I didn't say it. Dimmers Jamal Lulal. There you go.
They're also asking why. They're also asking why bye Holden. Well, because they don't make Holdens anymore, is my theory.
Well, that's pretty straightforward, yeah. And obviously GM is the parent company originally, which bought Holden many decades and decades ago. So Dimmers, just coincidentally, Holden were not necessarily a automobile manufacturer until the 60s. However, they were a sewing machine manufacturer. They were leather goods. They were a general store. There were lots of things back in, I think, the 1920s. We go back.
They made carriages as well, and they also assembled Model T Fords.
Yes, there you go. So, and then they ventured out into the automobile industry, and they've grown from there. And then, of course, General Motors bought them out many moons ago. And then they decided to part ways. And when it all came to 2016, 2015. So, unfortunately. Yeah, what's up, BB? Claire Williams to Ferrari. Ooh. Geez, yeah. Well...
That's true. And even whoever administers it, it's still going to be a culture of decisions by committee. They need to change things further up the chain, I think.
It's hard to see where they're lacking. They have the drivers at the right time. They've got the admin at the right time. They've got.
They have at the race team, but the race team's beholden to those higher up, and those higher up.
I'd actually go put the blame on. Sorry, the power plants are pretty good as well though too. In the last 5 years, they've been up and down in the rankings, but it comes down to the design.
Well, not so much that. Well. But it's the design and everything is decided by higher management at Ferrari proper, where they do things by committee. If you notice during the broadcasts of the races, the Formula One races, there's, do we go to strategy A, B, C, D? And it ends up being, should we go to strategy Z by the time the race is finished, and they're questioning it. Rather than say, this is what we're going to do, they say, should we go to A, B, C, D, or X, Y, Z?
Well, each team has to change their strategy on the run during the race.
But not so
you're blaming on team principal then, because there's obviously you've got two race engineers obviously giving information to each car, and I'm just giving, for example, it might be a Cyril or a Christian or a Gunther, and they're all sitting there, and he's got the he's got the two guys on either side. So yes, he does make a decision. He can step in, but those strategies are also planned out in the briefing meeting before the race. Here's A, here's B, here's C. So they actually discuss it beforehand as well too in every team.
But they question it during the race, and I think that's because there's influence from higher than the race team, the actual Ferrari organisation.
Well, you can't blame it on the budget. You can't blame it on the power plant. You can't blame it on the drivers.
I'm blaming it on the management.
Sometimes the design you can sometimes, because if you look at a Red Bull or a Silver Arrows or a Ferrari, and then some of the up and coming teams like a McLaren or a Renault, they've got that. Sometimes they've got the wash from the car and before. They've got the DRS. They've got all obviously the package upgrades, etc. And of course, as they know, they all decide they can choose what downforce they have. But when they're going around corners or when they're going down long straights, different racetracks suit different cars. For example, Richard would know what that means as well too, because he designs his own car.
No, I just build an XL, which is really just taking out all the old crap and making it cams worthy.
Yeah, but if you're going to go on a sweeping circuit like Phillip Island, compared to maybe they've got more turns in it, like a Sandown, and a shorter range, you're going to try and give it some more top end, aren't you?
if you're allowed. But I mean, look, I was at Bathurst last weekend, and there are some huge differences. But funnily enough, the XL is better down the bottom end of the circuit, whereas the MX5s were really great across the top. You can have really significant differences. They're overtaking me around Skyline, whereas by the chase, I'm right on top of them and getting them by Hell Corner. So, and they're coming back at me later on. So there can be huge differences in cars. And if Tico Williams was talking about design strategy, and you have to have one person who's collating all the good ideas to really put together a great car.
So the team principal actually has to sometimes make decisions by putting his foot down, or at the same time say, no, you're wrong, no, you're asking. He has to stand by his own feeling as well too, his own gut feeling that's okay, and stand up for himself, or say, no, this is right, this is wrong, and be obviously open, receptive to ideas.
Yeah.
But if he's getting pressure from upper management, that's difficult.
That's where he's going to stand on his dig.
Yeah.
Then it can come down to the now there's rules on how much you're allowed to spend. So the back
only 3 teams have to worry about
that. Yeah. Yeah, wouldn't we like to all have that problem? But then it comes down to where are you going to sink most of your money? Everyone says aero, but brakes are important. Rigidity is important. So many things are important.
And there's capping on some areas. Obviously, that the teams max out, whereas the other ones go, well, this is where we've got to make our difference. We've got basically no one's going to meet the demands of this particular area. Let's put the dollars into that. So I mean, you look at back in 2018, 2019, and obviously that's what Formula One's trying to rein in with 20 cars on the circuit. The disparity of Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes were spending 60, 80, some crazy number of millions, and you've got a Williams and a Haas that are like a quarter of that amount. So, they're always trying to punch above their weight. You get back to a Haas getting 5th and 6th in the race back in 2019. That was a massive win. That was throw a party for the world type stuff, especially when they, so it's, that's where, it's all, there's always going to be a dominant factor as well, too. I'm not sure Brett's not with us anymore. Unfortunately, he's drinking to our tribute to us right now. Good evening, Magcal. You got a mention the other night too on the show, or actually you'll get a mention as well too on the show tonight. So keep an ear out, guys. G'day again, Russell. But there you go. False start due to rainouts. There you go. So at Wang,
that'll be good to see that at Wangaratta on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. So with the Formula One, there's always going to be the 3 big teams, but then when they try and mitigate the rules and try and say, right, let's get some sort of even the playing field for the medium or smaller teams, the bigger ones are going to outvote them and try and change the rules in their favour anyway. So
I just think getting rid of the team principal, the Ferrari team principal, when it's part of a manufacturer who manufactures road cars and everything else, that's not going to solve the Formula One team problem.
Totally agree.
Especially at Ferrari.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. You're going to have to get someone who's going to get respected by the community and say, right, we're going to give you full reign on what you can and can't do. That's if that's the problem. There might be, look, Formula One's such smoke and mirrors and cloak and dagger. There's lots of stuff going behind the scenes that we'll never ever hear about, and you only get the juicy rumours every now and again when they get leaked. So anyway, what I did, speaking of Formula One though, is I saw a post from Daniel Ricciardo in the last day or two, was that he's slightly jovial on the fact that he's not going to be racing next year. He said, it's going to be really, I'm looking forward to a rest year, and I'm happy not to race next year so I can put life back in perspective again.
I'm-
And yeah, that's true, but I think that's a bit of a risk because he's not a world champion. He's not an Alonso, and he's not a Schumacher who have come back and saw when Michael Schumacher came back. He wasn't. He didn't do as well as he did when he left. Before he left the first time, but Alonso is doing quite well. So he's not a world champion. So I think it's a little bit of a risk him sitting the year out. But
Well, there's two things that'll come in his. If he does get back into it in 12 months, let's see if it does happen. There'll be two things that will be back in his favour. One, if you've got the confidence. Two, if you got the confidence, and you go out there and go grab the bull by the horns, he'll be fine. Yeah, exactly. He will just jump back out. If you got it, you got it, and you got the confidence, he'll be fine. 1 year out, simple. There's obviously he's still got he's got the gift. It is. I was looking at some of his old racing from back in the last 3-4 years. Even in a Renault, he round them up and make some great moves and pull different stuffs and get the best out of his car. It didn't happen this year with McLaren. That's why obviously he got cut off at the short and curlies. But if you give him a car that he gets that feeling with again, he'll wipe a few. He might even go close to third or fourth in the championship.
I'm not that confident.
No.
My personal opinion is if I was a team principal, I was watching, I think he's just lost the edge. And it happens eventually to everyone.
Yeah.
And has he got really good qualities that you could use in the background? Does he bring the crowds in? Could he be used as a spare? Perhaps. But by the end of next year, there's going to be another crop of very talented young men coming up, or all boys, who could fill his seat. And someone who's had their chance and has gone down the slippery slope, I don't know. I'd love to see him come back, but I don't think it will happen.
Yeah, right. Pete, you're frozen, by the way. So, yeah, keep talking, but your screen is frozen. The three of us are all lucid.
Okay. And that's what I was saying, box. Kimi, Lauda and Schumacher all took time off and they were world championships. And Daniel Ricciardo's not, no disrespect to him, but he's not. And so I think, and Alonso came back and he's a world champion. He hasn't got on the podium or won, but he's been up there. And I don't think it'll be the same for Ricciardo.
See what Red Bull opportunities they give him this year then.
Yeah.
Alonso's still got that fire in the belly, and I just don't think Ricciardo's still got that fire in the belly.
Paul Van den Akker is saying I'll be at the final round of the Australian Supercross Championships at Wagga Wagga this Saturday.
You are a jet-setting absolute legend, Knackers. You're always at the racetrack every weekend. You're living the high life of the jet set. I was going to say, I hope you're not paying for your airfares. I hope some are. Hope the organisations are looking after you.
Or even his accommodation.
Yeah, chipping in a significant amount, exactly like that. HQ Enduro, 2 hours on Saturday, another 2 hours on Sunday at Winton this week. The HQ Holdens, yeah.
And it'll be good weather at Winton because it's warm. So it'll be
more
weather.
than warm. We're going to hit the 30s here in Melbourne, so you'd have to imagine mid-30s. There you go, Richie's looking forward to the warm weather and get out of his garage there. Anyway, you touched on it, Richard. You should tell us about the whole experience of the Challenge Bathurst on the weekend. Give us a bit of a lead up, the crowds, the paddock, the other categories, what you got to look around, how many were in your field? There you go. There's about 10 questions for you. You can go for it.
Oh, the colour, the drama, the excitement, the music.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's just us, the competitors and the marshals. That's about it. Look, any time you can get to run on Bathurst at race pace is a good day. Excuse me. 50 in each group. It's a pretty crowded track. and I was happy because I started to come to terms with my car and get up to speed. So, but God, you run across some pretty poor driving in front of you, which slows you up.
Oh,
yeah,
you will come to
whoa,
bit of body roll and some squirreling.
Oh, yeah, nobody overtakes somebody going across the skyline, and I had that happen twice. And you go, "Hey, how did they know I could cope with someone being millimeters away from my side door, going down into the dipper?" Well, all's well which ends well, but
they gave you got the racing room.
Could you have used a blindfold, Richard?
Yeah, I think you need to have eyes in the back of your head when that happens.
So the fields were maxed out, Richard?
Awful hard. Sorry?
Just MX-5s and XLs in yours?
Yeah, and there's all sorts of others. There's Pulsars and there's BMWs and go past you at a blistering pace. And yeah, they space you out. But even so, you get some guys around you who, you don't hang out to the left going across skyline and then cut back in front of someone? No, you don't. No. I gather you never watched the race. But anyway,
stick to the racing lines. Is that you have a point? There's a point to all that, Richard. Stick to the racing lines.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's carnage and those concrete barriers. And ask Chaz Mostert if you lose it, and what happens to your leg.
They don't give very much, do they?
No. They get scarier the faster you go.
Yeah, with the least amount of experience as well, though, too. But you survived it. How'd you fare, Richard?
Pretty tired by the end of the weekend. But what's the most interesting thing is the trip up there from Melbourne. Once you get over the border to Midland Highway or the Olympic Highway, it's almost impassable. The holes in the road are and parts of the road are missing. Completely.
I was going to say I was up there earlier in May for the 12-hour, and I was in fog basically from Blaney out of all the way through to the Hume, and there was a lot of 40Ks, a lot of potholes, and of course it was at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I was driving in fog with about 20 meters visibility. It's pretty scary from the Hume to basically Bathurst, isn't it?
Oh, it was so bad. At one stage, a truck was coming in the other direction, and I could see he wanted to move onto my side of the road because there's a massive hole, and he couldn't because I was there. And the truck leapt into the air, and I'm thinking, I really hope those heavy machinery on the back stay exactly where they.
You don't catch one of them.
Yeah, it would have been a short trip for me. I was thinking.
Are you going to head up for the 12-hour next year? Because it's fast approaching.
I'm thinking about it. Still got lots of things to do with estates and stuff like that.
Okay.
So,
Unfortunately, car racing at the moment, you got to pick and choose your fights, I suppose. But yeah,
that's interesting. I didn't know that a marshal was injured when Mostert had his big accident at Bathurst.
Yeah,
so that's Paul van den Akker saying about the late Skip Taylor. I didn't know that it was
Skip who got injured.
Yeah.
Oh,
apparently.
I didn't. Yeah. Hell.
He said the late Skip, so he's passed away subsequently, but hopefully it wasn't from the injuries that the sustained with the Mostert crash when he put the Pepsi Max into the wall there. Over Skyline, as you were saying there. That's sad. Give us an update, Knackers. That's unfortunate. So back slightly before we get away from Formula 1 2-minute. This is right up your alley, Peter. I did see as well, though, too, a little post that came up because it doesn't actually have to be if you're buying tickets or following all the time or jumping on left, right, and centre. But we did discuss the Formula 1 tickets earlier on in the week and how fast they sold out because Pete's still got access. But I did see a little post today, which I find very amusing, was the Australian Formula 1 Corporation sent out a post and a link to jump on for some hints and tips on how to get your tickets fast and stay in the queue and get it like that. So they're actually giving out information how to get your tickets because
but it's a bit late it's a bit late because the situation
Well, no,
was...
for the coming up for the grandstand, the 5 more grandstands are going to release tickets.
But they're all sold out, so it doesn't matter. But the situation was, for those of us that have been regularly getting grandstand tickets, we were part of a program called Advantage GP, where we got priority before the tickets went on sale to the
Did you have to pay a fee for that?
No, you just paid your general. You were part of the program automatically, just based on what you paid for your ticket. But then after COVID, they changed it, and then you had to pay some money on top of what you paid for your ticket to be eligible to get alerted to priority ticket access. And so, because I wasn't willing to pay the extra, which was about 3 figures, the extra money, I was only eligible to get tickets with everybody else who wanted a grandstand ticket, who didn't pay their money last Tuesday. But fortunately, I got a ticket. But yeah, 25 years of going to the Grand Prix, right from its inception at Melbourne, and they treat people like that. It's it's a bit iffy, a bit dodgy.
I suppose when you got record crowds last year, and every Tom, Dick, and Harriet wants a ticket, whether you're 25 years or you're 3 years, and I've lost count how many times I've been over the years, and I've been to all the days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays. But yeah, unfortunately, they're not going to these days when you're going to get a massive record crowd, and everyone wants a ticket anyway. Unless you're going to pay a significant amount of dollars to get like you would if you're a corporate member, then you're just going to have to jump in the queue like everybody else, and it's first in, best dressed. And then unfortunately, what people forget sometimes, and they line up, it comes down to technology you got. So I didn't click on that link today for tips and hints and clicks and stuff like that, but I'm sure it's whether you've got your latest 5G phone, whichever brand, or you've got your latest notebook and access, and it comes down to the technology, how fast it works. Because I know people in the past have been caught out if they want to buy tickets to Guns N' Roses at the moment, or they want to go and see Richard Marx next year. Not Richard Outram, our good friend who's got a fabulous, wonderful voice anyway. But if you want to go and see a concert or go up for an event, I mean, I'm heading up to Ballarat on Saturday for a 10 hours to do the Spilt Milk Festival, and I have no interest whatsoever in going in for the music. However, I'm going to help out and volunteer the stuff. So, yeah, unfortunately these days it's just like pay TV. If you want stream per view, if you want priority access, you got to pay a little bit extra.
The point was, these people that have been going for 25 years, and they were on the Advantage program, and then they changed it, and I think that's what everybody's getting upset about. Those of us that were on the Advantage program, who did get priority for tickets to the grandstands, then suddenly we had to pay extra money to get that priority. I think that's what everybody's getting upset about.
Yeah, totally. It's like the Qantas and the frequent flyer points and the Jetstar and all that. Everyone's had all their points wiped and they've lost thousands of dollars.
Paul, I won't put it up, but Paul Van Den Acker is saying, sadly, cancer got skipped a few years later.
That's a shame. Yeah. That's not good. That's cool. Anyway, over to Supercars. Has anyone been... Pete, have you followed any of the lead-up stuff for that?
Well, only that there was a practice session today, and Thomas Randall topped the time sheets. But I think that was, again... he was down the order, and he did shoot up. So you've got to be in it to win it. But I think also there was a red flag which affected... There was only about 2 minutes to go, but I think there was a red flag that affected anybody's ability to best that time.
Anyone who loves a good livery will enjoy despite the number one on it, the Gizz's car, the Red Bull last venture for the ZB Holden before it goes over to Premier Racing's museum, because that's where it's been bought for $200,000. I think it was 2 years ago during COVID. I think he had the opportunity. Mr. Ziribos, whatever he's, I think it is. Yeah, from the Dragster King. He's
Mark
got that.
Pete Zibris.
Yeah, Pete Zibris, I should say.
Yeah.
The ZB Commodore looks very good in it. I think it's got a bit more white to it this time. I reckon it stands out from the crowd.
It's very white.
And because of the crash in the Gold Coast, James Golding is actually racing in the chassis that Jamie Whincup won last in Adelaide. So
there's a bit of history as well too.
Yeah.
I did see Lee Holdsworth as well too. Has got his farewell, the finale as well too.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we're going to say goodbye to Lee, but he's obviously shoring up deals. I think everyone wants his services for the co-driver role next year for the duet of Sandown and Bathurst. However, I did see there was another vehicle as well though too. It's got some history from years ago. So fantastic to see that. Golding's car was never going to make it. They said basically within a week after they stripped it down, that chassis was done and dusted. They'll be lucky to. Someone will probably have put it at the back of a shed, and it'll take 10 years for it to rejuvenate it. So that's what happens sometimes. It takes so long. That all comes down to. I did see some parity testing from VCAT today as well, though, too. Speaking of Supercars, did anyone see that?
No, I haven't seen it, but I note that Shane Van Gisbergen has questioned the lack of input from drivers with regards to Gen 3.
It's going to come from all angles. As I said a couple of weeks ago, it was only an hour or two just before we went to full course yellow, or it might have even been the Tuesday night. So it was Tuesday night when we were talking about parts and panels, and Brett and I were discussing in the lead up to the show about 2 or 3 weeks ago. The scary part about it is the teams haven't got all the chassis yet, but they've got a few of them. They're starting to put them all together, and they haven't got all the panels to put them all together. It's going to be a mad rush to have them ready, even for testing on Australia Day weekend, 24th, 26th of January. That's for Winton, for the Victorian-based and lower New South Wales teams that use that as a venue. The following week is not used until, again, for the Queensland teams up there. I think we were talking Tony Quinn. There's a little home he has there he's acquainted himself with. And then they get another quick test in again, but it's 6 weeks before the start of the season, so they're not going to iron out a lot of those bugs. It's going to be hit and miss. The cars are going to be hitting the track. There's going to be gremlins for sure. It's going to be played over the top of, but it's going to be, the thing is,
good.
Oh, it did. It sets a cat amongst the pigeons. However, I did see again today though, and this is obviously this is coming from American Ford boss. I can't remember his name because I did see the post this afternoon.
Mark. I think it's Mark Rishworth.
That's it. Yes, you're spot on. Yeah. Good on you, Pete. That's the guy. I did read the whole article, but I obviously had to browse over it very quickly. He has expressed his extremely not just Ford-based concerns on the parity, because Supercars have got all these VCAT tests done, and they put a lot of money into it, and it was done obviously in airfield up north. And a few of the speculations are saying the Mustangs are going to be too quick, but what it's really looking like, when it comes down to the details, to the stuff, it's actually the Camaros are going to be faster. Whereas, it's all up in the air at the moment, because you've got engine parity, you've got aero parity, you've got downforce parity. It's not looking very good. So it could end up be a dog's breakfast, unfortunately, by next year, which we hope it doesn't. But it adds controversy, adds fun, negative news is always positive.
Every time they change a generation, there's always this sort of stuff going on.
Well, they added an extra 12 months to it, and they're still not going to get it right.
Well, it was the same with I forget what they call it, Car of the Future. They had this same sort of.
Well, it's a Generation 3 Car of the Future, if you call it, because we're in Gen 3 now. So the original Car of the Future, I'm still good friends with Matty. He's a mate of mine. He's a diesel mechanic for the Air Force down at Sale, and the roulettes were based there at the particular time. I'm not sure if they still are. So Matty was working on the roulettes for an extended period of time, for a couple of years, and they held the parity tests and stuff down there. And Matty got to see it all, and you could see back even then as a just an avid observer that things aren't always right. So that's where the original car of the future and Scafie and the rest of the gang did it down there. I don't think Mark Scaife has as much to do as he used to, but whoever's in it now, I just think they're on a fast track to, unfortunately, hopefully not doom and gloom, but because they've got to get it right, because everyone's just going to absolutely, they've had a few hiccups along the way, but they're going to absolutely bag the bejesus out of it if they don't get it right with such a short time frame between Australia Day weekend and 6 weeks later when they hit the track for the first time at Newcastle.
I think it'll be all right if it's reliability that's a factor. If it's where one manufacturer dominates over the other, then that'll be a problem.
Parity's going to cause outrage if it's not right though either as well though too. It will
That's what I'm saying. Yep.
I don't think it will matter which car Van Gisbergen's in. He's red hot, and you could put him in an XL and he'd still do well.
Yeah.
He's just the man's on fire at the moment.
Should he be in the category anymore, Richard? Should he really should he take everyone that's giving him advice and say, go overseas and do some GT racing more so?
Well, may make a level playing field, but he's driven so many things and he drives them all brilliantly. So, the rest of the field's up against it, I'd say.
Yeah. Who's the next best then? Is it a Chaz? Is it a Waters?
I'd say Waters. Yeah. But is that because he's got good connection, good understanding with his engineer? The Mustang's not a bad package, but it's has he got a good connection with his engineer, and they shift to a new car, and that connection or that understanding drops away? Who knows? But
And also,
still got my money on Van Gisbergen though.
Can Brad Jones
and Waters is the next best thing. It's the same thing as what I was saying with Ferrari. At one stage, Tickford was falling over themselves and, shooting themselves in the foot because they were, falling over themselves. And that's what Ferrari Formula One team is currently doing. And I think that's not just it's not at the race team level. It's because they're getting orders from higher up, do this or else, and or they're doing things by committee. Whereas I think Tickford was doing that at one point, and now they're not, and now they're flying Tickford.
Yeah, Super 2 is looking good. Tickford's got a new stable for the Super 2 next year. I think, is it Ellie?
Ellie Moreau, and I forget the other, it's on the ticker.
Yeah,
it hasn't come up yet.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at that. Sorry, my apologies. So, yeah.
Ellie Moreau and Brad Vaughan.
That's right, yes, yeah. But the other thing is too, Super 2 is going to, us diehard fans are going to enjoy. We enjoy any category race. We enjoy Richard going around the track on his own around Bathurst, and we can just watch every one of the 50 cameras.
If you want to sleep.
No, but I'm saying my point is, so Super 2 is going to get the benefit of the Gen 2 cars are going to be dropping back into the field next year. So that's going to be lots of fun to see. Obviously, the bigger budget teams are going to be able to adapt to that a bit more and have and buy a bit more resources to go to them. But yeah, Super 2 is going to be great to watch as well next year. And that's obviously, unfortunately they've got to buy their time there. And, there's only one or two, maybe three that might get a look in on Supercars each year because there's only so many seats. But it's great to see that, a couple of wild cards this year. We had 3 cars, and I don't want to get onto the Peter Added and stuff, but he bagged them out something chronic again this week. He just did his usual routine and said, you're all a pack of so-and-sos.
Well,
and by the way, I'm flying out of the country, so have a good time.
Well, it's interesting. That's interesting because apparently Erebus is going to Coca-Cola sponsorship, not Boost sponsorship. So it seems that from what I know, the only evidence of Boost signage will be at the Boost at the Gold Coast 500 and not anywhere else. So it's interesting.
Isn't getting Coca-Cola sponsorship playing Russian roulette with 5 bullets and 1 empty chamber instead of 5 empty chambers.
Speaking, yeah. Well, yeah.
Isn't that what everyone said after going broke because they had Coca-Cola sponsorship?
Yeah, well, Chris Pitt has done a very good job of maintaining it the last few years, and he's a good friend of.
But he's leaving Zerebus.
He's going to be a co-driver next year as well, though. Yeah. So Chris is a chippy as well, though. Too. He works with my brother's dad at.
He's got plenty of money then.
Well, I wouldn't say that. He works for a chip. He works for my brother's boss. He's a chippy at Wood End, so I hope to catch up with Chris eventually on the track. I haven't met him yet, but my brother's met him a few times with work, and unfortunately, yeah. So he's going to be a well sought after co-driver next year, but he hasn't ruled it out as well, though. Too, someone was having a chat to him. I did see a post as well, though. Too, he could come back to the main game the year after, depending on how things pan out this year with the drivers. So. Anyway, just mention what you
DJ. I just want to mention this. Falcon DJ 17 is saying thanks, Brett, for getting me into a drive at Phillip Island on Saturday, and he's saying see you for RX8 Cup next Sunday.
We'll have to. Brett will have to explain a bit more. He's not here to explain himself, unfortunately. So yeah,
I just want to acknowledge. I just want to, on his behalf, acknowledge Brett.
Yes, so Brett and I will be heading down to Phillip Island on Saturday week. So not just Sunday as well, though, too. We're going to be doing the lead up on the Saturday. There'll be a drivers' parade for the RX Cup on very early on the Saturday morning. So sparrows or Cape Barron geese farts. So at 7 o'clock in the morning, I think they're going to display the cars along the main straight there in front of the main grandstand and the overpass. So Brett's I'm going to have to probably send about 10 alarms to him because he struggles to get out of bed by 9 o'clock, let alone be down at Phillip Island by 7 o'clock in the morning for it. So, he's ruining that already. So we'll be down there. I think we're going to cover most of the day, whether we do any live streams. But stay tuned. There'll be some in-pit lane stuff. I'm sure Brett will put a package together. Unfortunately, Brett and Channel 31 have come to an impasse. They wanted us to do a summer series for this year, which we have done multiple times.
We wanted a holiday.
Yeah, but it's just too tough. I mean, things are getting back to normal in life for everyone right now, and there's a lot on. There's things to be done. There's bills to be paid. There's tracks to go to as well, though, too. So, Roy, our online event sponsors,
we will be putting stuff on YouTube, and we will going to racetracks over summer occasionally, and there will be stuff on YouTube.
Yep. So Brett, we'll get out to. Brett said we'll get out to Calder Park at some stage very shortly. We've been out there. We've been invited to go back out there, but we've just got to get our butts there. We're always welcome as well. Those Lance and Stephen are absolutely. Brett and I have been there individually and done some stuff for them. So Heathcote Parks as far as the drags. Brett also mentioned Nyora. He wants to get out there soon as well, though, too. The season started out there. Bairnsdale's on my hit list as well, too. I hear about Bairnsdale all the time. Bit of an unfortunate incident last weekend, so thoughts go out to all the families and people that were involved in the two-car tangle last week, but I haven't heard anything bad since, so our thoughts and prayers with those. And just one thing I just wanted to, because you reminded me, Richard, thank you for playing Russian roulette with a six-shooter. And one of the barrels are empty is, if you're watching the show in about 10 minutes' time, which we're doing the lead up for, is gorgeous George Vidovic is joining us on the show tonight.
Yes, that's right.
And Brett always does this big, obviously, thing. But look, I was very privileged enough to sit in between two absolute legends of motorsport, and I don't get to say this enough sometimes because we have to do a show, and full course yellow, we just talk rubbish anyway. But Brett's been absolutely fantastic this year. We somehow got 26, 27 episodes together. Brett's not here with us right now, so I can talk about him. He can just have to put up with it later. And I'm sure Peter and the two guys to my right and left on the screen, if you're looking at us, can understand totally. He has put his heart and soul in this show for so long. He just gels us all together, produces the show. We have a turnover of a crew of a few people over the year, but we've got a mainstay of 20, 30 people that obviously that do all the work behind the scenes. And and he put a beautiful, lovely post about us all and thanking everyone. But I can't thank the people that put us twats out there, us clowns there on the desk every week and make us good. Chris has done some stuff behind the scenes when we were behind the Iron Curtain there a couple of years ago. Chris came out every single week, Richie, up there in the corner there, and did the live bands just to get us through. So if it wasn't for the last 2 or 3 years when everyone's been doing it tough to get us through, we wouldn't have been back on this year as well, though, too. It could have folded 2 years ago, couldn't it, Richie? Couldn't it, Chris? Pete?
Indeed.
This
is behind me is an example of George Vitkovic's work.
Yeah.
Cobra,
Yes.
the Python.
The Python, yeah.
Python, sorry, yeah.
And I was there at the opening of the Python down in South Melbourne.
In
the
1917.
What's that?
1917.
Yeah. He had the Pythonette dancing girls and celebrities from various shows from around the world. It was bigger than Ben-Hur, I can tell you.
He was a showman, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
And I just want to acknowledge Virtual R has joined us, so it's a lovely segue of how Brett's doing a wonderful job, but also Virtual R for us has done a wonderful job. And he was late here because he was sorting out many DVs of old IPL in Pit Lane episodes.
He's the man behind the man. He's the big man behind the man.
Without him as well, we wouldn't have
got some work ahead of him.
Yeah.
Without him as well.
They usually say it's the woman behind the man, but this time it's Virtual R behind the man.
The woman behind
without
the man
him as well,
and shoving him into it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to catching up with Roy and the online event company, so to speak, in a couple of times when we have our little wrap up to our little own private party. So yes, a huge thanks. You're right there, Pete, to Roy and the gang, and it's been a pleasure doing as long. We have a private chat where Roy obviously converts all the mini DVDs, like he's on the screen there. He said there's videotapes he does. He was talking about one a couple of days ago. He's chewed accidentally. He said, I converted one. I got to the 28-minute mark. It was only about 30-minute tape, but it's destroyed. Brett said, that's okay, no worries. He goes, but I got it. I got a digital copy of it. So, yeah, he puts his heart and soul until he's pulled in resources.
And he supported us putting the show to air. So without him as well, the show wouldn't go to air as well.
It has. He's been an absolute legend.
And Mark Goldsmith saying entirely agree. Well done, Brett.
Yeah, he's Mark. You've just brought up, and I got to briefly put my head on the camera because all the cameras had gone across to the band on Tuesday night, and Brett doesn't mind. I just poked my head sideways for a second. I said, "This is the guy that keeps us all together." I mean, I've been mates with Brett for years before I even came on the show, and Richard and Richie, and same with you, Pete. You go back, decades as well, though, too. And people don't realise. I hope Brett doesn't watch this because I'm going to try and get some inroads into channel. I'm not sure it's Channel 7 or Channel 9, but they do the Logies. And Brett's, I don't want to do any of that stuff. That's just a whole bunch of bullshit. I can't, But I'm gonna make some inquiries into whoever runs it, whether it's TV Week or something like that, because it doesn't matter where he's been doing it from. It's been community television. He's put as I said before, he's put his heart and soul into it. Blood, sweat, and tears from not just himself, but everyone else that he's brought on board over the years. And but one thing he said in the post during this week, and I'm sure Box as well, though, too. He's very proud of the people that have gone on to bigger and better things and have learnt their craft in some way, shape, or form within Pit Lane. And now, they can just credit, the people and Brett and the show and RMI TV as well, though, too, and maybe Optus Vision back in the days. The basics they taught them to enable them to go on there. And sometimes, not just in Australia, they're on the world stage now.
You'll be pleased to know, Box, that Brett will be back as the captain of Full Course Yellow next week. So it'll be normal service will resume.
We'll all add 5 minutes, etc. like that. So we've only got a few minutes to go. Any other topics? Any other categories that have come up?
One thing. You mentioned Calder Park. And just in front of me, I've had the calendar for next year. And in the land of super optimism, we have on October the 27th to the 29th, the state series or state round is scheduled for Calder Park. And I go, whoa.
I believe it.
Make good money. I'll just put $1 on that one, I think.
I believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I am telling a fan. I'm going to say, how good's the tumbleweed dodging, Richard?
Yes.
So hopefully they clean. It's not just the track I'm worried about; it's the cleaning up the grass around it. If we've had a really good summer/winter with a lot of weeds growing at the moment, and everyone's worried about excessive grass growing. So
I went out there years ago with Brett, and I swear to. It felt like I was in the Day After Tomorrow or some dystopian disaster movie. I mean, yes, I Am Legend or whatever.
Well, Brett and I were getting whispers. We do get some, obviously, with people coming on the show and obviously through our contact sometimes, and said, keep an ear out. You might hear an announcement from the state government or before the election. That never came to fruition. And I'm just going to say it right before, because Brett's mentioned as well too. Kim Jane and Rodney Jane said, no, we don't want any government handouts. We're going to do it all on our own. Yes, we'll get some sponsorship on. We're happy with all that sort of stuff, but we don't want any freebies. So
and I've been reading in various motorsport publications, and it's not. There's no time frame, but we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're gonna.
Machine
Virtualise, they belong to the artillery. Virtualise saying, and following that will be the Grand Prix of Atlantis.
Thank you, Virtual. Very funny.
Yeah, look, we all hope, but obviously, it might not happen. Or Richard Stubbs used to say, when the Vicks vapor drops abs, it won't happen overnight, but it will happen.
But it won't happen.
Anyway. Sydney Motorsport Park this weekend, Mark Goldsmith. Some great historic racing, you say?
Yep.
Excellent. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there has been knackers. I was reading a post from one of the guys that actually works there as a full-time employee on day crew. So, unfortunately, some of the weather over the last 12 months has caused some havoc around the grounds there, which activated them into getting off their butts, and not from day-to-day works, getting off their butts to use their resources to actually clean up some of the areas that needed more focus than others, rather than just maintaining it. So, Knackers is right. I did read some of the stuff from an employee there. So, as you said, Motorsport Australia, Eugene touched on it as well too a couple of weeks ago. So, anyway, we've only got a minute and a half. I'm going to let Pete wrap it up, and just make sure you watch the show tonight. Gorgeous George Vidovic.
Yep, gorgeous George Vidovic. It's a fascinating interview. I'm going to spoil things a bit, but there's fascinating footage of him racing a McLaren around Daytona. It's great footage, and there's also great music. So we'll let you go now to get your favourite beverage to watch the in-pit lane with.
Watch it.
And we'll see you next week. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye for now. Catch you next week. Have a good weekend.